USB pens and start saving things in one place, because it can increase your collaboration with others within your setting, but across your local authority and even beyond, across Scotland. So Glow, as we've said, it allows you to collaborate with others, and I'm going to show you how to do that this afternoon. It's an evergreen environment. So one of the things, as I mentioned, I'm going to show you whiteboard quickly at this later on, and this morning it wouldn't work properly, and that's because it was getting a wee update. It didn't take very long, it just took the 1 hour our session was on for, but it means you're always getting the most recent and compatible product. So there's a team at Education Scotland who check for any issues. They work with local authorities. Pam is one of your Glow key contacts. And so there's lots of information being shared about updates, what is working, what isn't working, what would like to be seen. So it's a place that means that you're using the most frequently used and most recent updates in Glow. And that then for our older learners, I know everybody here's early years, but for our older learners, that's readying them for work as well. So anywhere, anytime also means that you don't have to be within your work environment. Now, I'm not saying work elsewhere, but as the pandemic has shown us, sometimes we have to be flexible around where we're working and how we're working. And Glow means that because we can access it, it's online. So provided we have an online network for a lot of the products, we can access our resources, collaborate with people remotely. We don't have to be beside them, and they're always available to us. And like I say, Education Scotland is in the background kind of maintaining it along with Microsoft and RM. And also the OneDrive space that's virtually unlimited. You can store all of the different file types. So I know my background is primary, and I worked in primary 1-2 for a long time, and collaboratively we had a joint built-in nursery, so I worked with that team a lot as well. And so you know, you might be using lots of different products that are not Office, but that doesn't mean you can't still save them in your OneDrive. It doesn't just have to be Office products that you're saving there. So if it's Boardmaker resources that you're using for displays around the classroom, etc., all of those can still be in there, even if another device doesn't have that on it, as long as they are professional learning materials. Everything in Glow should be for learning and teaching. So I've spoken a little bit about it being a bit more than just the traditional Office products. So this is a breakdown of the different Microsoft products that are available within Glow for you. So you may be familiar with some, if not all of them. So I know, like I say, your authority has a brilliant Sway. I know that, I've seen that one from Pam. And you'll likely have been using Teams, well, you're using it for this training, but during lockdown and things like that to collaborate. But we've got things like forums, and they can be shared beyond Glow. So you're able to engage within your learning community and the families there. So you might want to do a wee survey with them, etc. So that information can be used using forums. If you've not already seen it, you can take a wee look. So there's lots more to Glow than maybe just first meets the eye, is what I'm trying to say. So this afternoon's session, it's going to be mainly live demonstrations of a lot of these, or some of these products. If you have a device that you want to log into at the same time, please feel free. We know that this isn't a hands-on session in so much as I'm not there with you. However, I think Pam is recording this. I can see the recording transcription a bit at the top, and I'm going to show you where you can also get additional help and support at the end as well. So if you do have a device though, please feel free. You can log in via your Glow account to more than one device if you want. Okay. So I'm going to come out of my presentation and I'm going to open up Glow. So one of the core things just to be aware of, and some of you may know this, and apologies if you do, but for those people who don't, there are 4 different launch pads in Glow. There's your own launch pad down the left hand side, and that's indicated by the single person. The next one is the house, and that's your setting. So your early learning and childcare setting, or your nursery or primary setting if you're attached, that's the house one. So somebody in your school manages your school Glow accounts, and they dictate which different tiles are available to you. The next one is your local authority one. For me, that would be Education Scotland. PAM will likely be, she can tell me if I'm wrong, but PAM will be likely the one that manages all the tiles in your local authority one. And the bottom one is Scotland. So that's managed by Education Scotland. And I just want to flag a couple of things up in here. So if you have a special interest in a particular curriculum area, the professional learning communities may be of interest to you. And there's also an early years network and team that have a professional learning community in there. There's also Glow Connect, which gives you help, support and guidance. That's the second blue tile. And should you see anything that you find concerning, or any young people report to you, maybe if you've got your own children who are a bit older and have a Glow account, if they see anything that's concerning, we always have this report of concern Glow button, and that's available in the waffle that I'll show you in a minute as well. But there's other things in here. There's barefoot computing science resources that support unplugged teaching of computing science, Think You Know around cyber resilience and internet safety, and a whole lot of others. And there's that Office 365 download button that I talked about earlier. But we're going to look at personalising your Launchpad. So you can see here, I have a wide range of different tiles. Some of these are from the App Store that's available within Glow, and some of them are personal tiles of links to things that I might be using. So within my class, or when I was working with some of the groups in the nursery, for example, it was attached to our school, I might want a resource available to me when I was in there. And so I wouldn't want to be going on the internet searching about for it. I wanted just a quick, clean link to it. So to add something here, you simply select the first box. We're going to add one from the library first, so I select that. You can choose curricular area or level at the side. But there's also a search bar. So up here, because this is about Glow and Microsoft products, I'm just going to show you 365 and search. And that pulls up any Microsoft tiles that are available. Again, we've got that 365 download, and we can choose any of these. So if I choose mail, for example, add to my Launchpad, and then up in this top corner is an X. So click X, and you can repeat that for as many as you want. If we were to look at the early level ones, oops, get rid of 365, there we go. Look at all apps, early level, it'll show me some apps that may be of interest to me there. And again, I would just repeat the process. So for example, the Scotland on Screen ones, I can add that to my Launchpad. So when you've got the apps that you want, and you can do this anytime, you use the rocket at the top of the screen to return to your Launchpad. New tiles appear at the bottom. If you want to move them around, select Edit My Launchpad, and you can change them by number. So do it by number up here, or you can drag and drop. Really simple. Whenever you're happy, save changes. So you can have all of the apps that are there. So if you don't already have a link to Teams and maybe OneDrive, for example, then that's a great place to start in your mail. The other option that you've got that I used to find really handy, as I said, is the personal tile. So this allows you to have a shortcut. So one of the transition projects that we did was around fairy tale. So our nursery to P1 transition group, we would do a nursery fairy tale pack. So I'm going to put in a link to the British Council. So it's just to this page. So it has a short clip of it. It has a story that I can print out and share with families if they want. And it has some face masks and things that we could use in our role play area and that young people can use as finger puppets and things like that. So I've taken the link from the web page. I'm going to title that I want to use at the top. And then I'm going to create a thumbnail, so generate thumbnail. And all that does, depending on your internet speed, mine is never super, is it takes a quick screenshot of the page that you are using. So hopefully that will find it quickly. This is always the bit that trips you up. There we go. So it's taking a screenshot. So I have a visual clue, but as do my learners if I'm using this at group time. And I can click in there. Above the generate a thumbnail button, I could also put in a sort of picture that maybe my learners had drawn, or like a smaller space provided I have copyright allowance to take that image. So there's now my tile. If I click it, you'll see the tab opens up and it takes me straight to that location. So where you are looking at prompts, maybe if you're going on a trip, it's a nice way to have maybe a link to, we're going to look at OneDrive in a minute, but you can have a list of photographs there and so on. And you can just go straight into those photographs to be looking at it, or a sway you maybe have made up. If you have a learner who's maybe apprehensive about going on a trip, you could take, I used to do photos where I would quickly take photographs of the walk that we were going to do, and I could show them to the learner, but there was a link there so that I could show them in advance of us going, so it removes some of the apprehension about us taking that trip. These links can be to anything that has a web link, but again, like I said, anything here is for professional use, but it could be things like Tesco's link for, you know, discussing snack items for your table, if you're using the setting the table documentation and things like that. Okay, so that's personalizing your Launchpad. Simply select add. Personal tile is anything that you want, and an app from the library is like your phone or a device that you may have where you add it. If you don't want anything, so the example I used this morning was, for example, Winnie the Witch's website has an amazing range of activities that can be used around your setting. So if you, once, say Halloween's been and gone and you're not focusing on maybe the Winnie the Witch stories or something like that, select edit, and then simply go to the tile that you no longer need. I'll just let that screen catch up with me. And select the small X in the corner. Just remember to always hit save when you're done. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions, but please do pop them in if you do have any questions at all. So one of the apps that I would recommend that you add, as well as the sort of core 365 ones, is this red home tile. So in your Glow account, this does two things. One is it shows you recent documents that the AI built into Glow thinks that you might find useful. And if you don't want them shown, for example, this poem, you can just remove it from the list. It doesn't delete the document, it just takes it away from sort of being visible on this page. And the AI kind of learns. It's a bit like if you use Facebook or Instagram, it works out what you like and it offers you that more often. So that's kind of what it's doing within Glow. But it's also a handy way if you're all really busy in a setting. So what it'll let you see at a glance is recent documents that you've maybe used. It shows you how long ago you used them as well. And if you share them, it'll show you who you've shared it with. It lets you have that quick access and it shows you. So if you think, oh, I definitely made a forum, and I know that, for example, here I've made a quick forum up in Glow because I wanted to capture it, but I don't remember what I called it. Rather than having to open up lots of tiles, one tile, 365 home, and it lets you see your forum, in this case, lets you edit it, and then you can go straight back to that section and you can go on. But it saves you having to click lots of applications, because if you know it was a form, you know what to look for, or like that if you know if it was the title of a document. So that is the 365 home button. But we're going to look at OneDrive. So as well as our 365 home kind of giving us that overview, our OneDrive allows us to have 1 terabyte of information. We can store it by file, just like you would on a computer in your setting or a device in your setting, or by folder. I'm a folder person, so I have lots of folders. There are tiles along the top. Recent activity is shown here. So again, if you know you worked on something, but you're not sure if you saved it, that recent button will let you see. So sometimes you might create something and not know. I used to be bad for saving things as untitled. So this lets you see it at a glance. Also lets you see if somebody's saying they've shared something with you, but you're not sure where it's gone. This shared button lets you see things you've shared and things that have been shared with you. And if you're a member of any teams, there's a quick shortcut to all the shared files there as well. If you don't see the team you're looking for, just click more places. But if we go to My Files, we can create a new folder or document here. We can also make a shortcut to a web page here too, and we can upload something. So first of all, I'm going to make a folder. So I'm going to call this Inset PM. Create. So you can see I have mine set alphabetically. If I don't like the name of that, say I want it to be at the top, hover over the line, and in the middle there's always 3 dots. And in Glow, the top tip is wherever you see 3 dots, there's extra menus. Once you start looking for 3 dots, you see them all over the place. So there's 3 here, there's 3 up at the top, and they always give you like little mini extra menus. So I'm going to rename this just so it's at the top. Okay, so now it's up here, Inset PM. So I've got my folder and I want to upload some stuff. So you'll already have a wealth of resources in here. But first of all, I want to create a folder. So you might have created a bank of images that you want to use as prompts, maybe to laminate and put in the sand tray for discovery activities. You might want to have like laminated footsteps for outside. It could be whatever you want. I'm going to do leaves for seasonal autumnal work. So I've made a folder called Leaves and I'm going to upload some of my resources so I've always got access to them. So I'm going to go to my pictures. I am going to select leaves that we're also going to use later and I'm going to upload them. When I've selected and clicked open, up in the top right corner, it'll tell me it's uploading them. And I can see them appear here. It tells me they're private, so I'm not sharing them. But we could share the whole folder or we could share an individual leaf. And there's a range of ways to do that. I'm going to just look at that in a second. But at the moment, it shows you private. I've added photos and I might want to share them with, for example, a fellow group leader that we're going to collaborate on a project together. So I'm going to select the 3 dots and I'm going to click share. So I've made a folder, I've got my photos and I want to share these with Louise just now. So I'm going to type in Louise's name. The more you use somebody's details, the faster they find them depending on your Wi-Fi. So select that. I can pop a message in saying, hi, just for you to add to if you Louise to do anything with that, but as we're going through we might be taking them as evidence when we go on walks, things like that, and we can add to them so we could use them for activities. Here I can choose whether or not I want her to be able to edit or just view, and just above it, anytime you share something in Glow you get this drop down menu. So there's a few different options. You can choose for the person to be able to edit it. You can also choose making sure that you're on specific people that they can't. You can choose to share it out with Glow, but be very, very cautious with that. So a good example of where something was shared out with Glow was something was signed for parents who couldn't come into the setting. but there was a sign language video created, and it was shared beyond Glow with the family so that they could access it. But anything that's shared beyond Glow should normally have an expiration date attached to it and should have a password. But as I say, we normally advise as an organisation that you use the specific people that limits it to Glow users. For example, collaboration with settings, or if you're doing an investigation or doing a small test to change, for example, you might want to collaborate. If you're a setting leader or a head teacher, you might want to collaborate, and so you could allow specific people and edit. Once you're done, click send or copy the link, and you'll see if I refresh my page, Louise has access there. So if I click shared, it shows me who it is. I can copy the link at any time to share it with other people, or I can click the 3 dots and I can remove those people if I want to. Okay, so I'm also going to upload some planning documents. So on my desktop, I have done what I probably shouldn't do, and I've got some documents. So I can't access them if I'm not in the setting, so I'm going to put them in Glow. At the moment, they're just with me, but I'm going to share the Seaside planning document again with Louise. So share. Yeah. There we go. So that will share with Louise, and when I create a document and share it, what you'll then see is I've got my document that I started, and when Louise joins, or my colleague joins, you'll see a little bubble appear up in the top corner to show me that she has access to it. So now we can see Louise is here and she's there. So we can both be putting ideas down in that. So I'm going to put we are looking at seaside activities. This is just a quick plan I made up yesterday. We've got some keywords that we might be trying to include in our thing. I identified some storybooks, and we're thinking of activities that might go with them for different group activities, for prompts and so on. So we're looking around our setting, and maybe each person has responsibility for an area in the setting, and that their group's going to be focused around, and they're going to add their own input in. So this can be used in a whole range of ways, but anybody can collaborate with anyone else as long as they are sharing this document with them. So it's a really nice way to, again, try and share resources, get ideas, collaborate on things. If I want to share it further in here, I can use the share button. And if I want to catch up, say I've not checked out for a while and it's really busy, maybe you're doing some sort of planning for change, you can use the catch up button that shows you any changes that have taken place since you were last there. So that's a really simple way to do it, and it will also show you in your folder that it was updated a few seconds ago, the last person to type on it, so that was Louise, and that it's shared. If I don't want to share it anymore, I simply go into here, select manage access, and I can remove that person. Sorry, Louise. So I'm also going to remove the link as well. And it goes back to maybe if it's the former year's group, or if I don't need to share it, maybe you've got a student that's visiting and maybe you want to give them access to it. So if you've got some students and things like that. Okay, so the other thing I can do is I can create a new document directly in here. So select your type of document we're working on. I can play to rename anything in your OneDrive. You go up to the top, it shows you the person's OneDrive it's stored in, it shows you the folder it's in, so you can check who's the owner of it. This is a handy way to do that as well. You give it its name, and then you can collaborate and work on it, or just use that. You'll see as well up here, if you've got something and you started it, but maybe you're changing settings and you want to get a version, the original version, so you designed it and you're using it, so you can take a version history. That's not going to be very exciting because it's just me. But if lots of people were using it, I could go right back to the original version, and I don't need to keep deleting and removing everything. I can just take a fresh copy for the next academic year, for example. So that's quite handy. So we've got all of our documents. I'm just going to open this Word document. Something called reader and dictate as well. So if you've got learners and you maybe want to capture their input and let them see it being typed up, and this is, it's got two features. So on the home section along at the end there's dictate. So dictate is essentially speech to text. I can talk and the computer should hear what I'm saying and type. So young people can come up to, your learners can come up to the computer, they can talk into it and it will type up their ideas. So you could have that at an open area and ask them to tell the computer what they think. So it's recording what they're saying. A quick feature I'm not going to demo, but I just want to talk to you about is the transcribe. So say you've got a group and you want to capture everybody's kind of ideas and thoughts. So you might be using a storybook as a provocation, and you might want to have, you might have some resources in front of you and you want to capture your small groups discussion. Transcribe will record it, but it will also listen for the different voices, and it will do essentially what I've got there. So it's converting speech to text, but it does it for multiple individuals. So you're essentially going to see what each person, now I taught for a long time, I was a teacher for 13 years, and I know that sometimes the pronunciation's not quite there, especially with our younger learners, they're still developing. So you know whether or not that would be suitable for your setting, but I just want to flag it up because it is quite a nice wee tool that you can have just something running in the background and your focus can be on the activity that's in front of you, because sometimes it's hard to kind of jot down all the notes and record what people's thoughts are. Okay, the other thing in here in view, so view, is the immersive reader. Hopefully some, if not all of you have seen this before. So we have a quick extract from a poem by Shirley Hughes about the seaside, sticking with our theme. And up here we can, or down here rather, we can get it to say the story aloud. So that's straightforward. It can highlight different things, so we can have different backgrounds, as you can see there, change the size and font. You know, in a nursery setting, although this might be suitable for working with parents, I'm not saying you would necessarily use this with young people straight off. However, if you are using this, my key thing I was thinking about when I would use this for nursery is, you know, when you're trying to get like maybe parents to sing along to something, this would be a handy way for it just to play that and have the volume right down. So you could use it for songs. However, it translates the whole thing and you can have a picture dictionary on it. So if you're a nursery teacher and you maybe are moving to a class where actually this might be a feature for this, you can have a picture dictionary, you can have it read the words aloud in a second language. So if you've got younger learners coming in and there maybe you don't have access to bilingual pupil support, and you still want that young person to understand what you're saying, you might be able to have it say in that young person's first language. So if you have learners who have English as a second language, this is a useful tool, and you can translate the whole document. It'll read it aloud in that document. So 1+2, English as a second language, but even if you have families who perhaps you want to convey a message to the family members and they're not able to, you don't have access to translation, this might be a quite useful tool so that they're able to understand what you're trying to convey if it's something a bit more complex. So it's just to make you aware that those features are in there. So To get Immersive Reader, view Immersive Reader, and that will allow you to use the Translate tool. For home, you have Dictate, and you have also Transcribe that's available to you. Okay, so any changes that you do automatically take effect. It's key by key stroke. We can easily share and collaborate with others. We can use our OneDrive to upload and share our materials so that we can all add to it together, and we've got a bank of resources. And I used that a lot when I was in P1 and I was working with the nursery a lot, and also when I was not in P1 and I was working across the school, I would create resources and the team there could access them at all times. Okay, so we've removed people, we've added people in. If we wanted to make a copy of something and take it off of Glow, we've got this download feature here, so I can download a copy straight to my device, just like you would normally have, so you don't have to always have it kept in Glow. And if I wanted to move it or share it to perhaps a team space that I'm already in, I can select it by clicking the dots, go to the 3 dots up here and select Move To or Copy To, and that will allow me to move it or copy it to another folder, somewhere else in my OneDrive if I'm having a tidy up, or to one of these team spaces. There are 2 quick things in here. You can have a look for information around the specific document of who's accessed it. So if you're maybe a team leader or a nursery head teacher, you might have asked everybody to look at a document for ahead of a session. That I button is quite useful to let you see who's interacted with it, just not to check up on people, but it just makes sure that, you know, if you need everybody to look at something, everybody has already looked at it. So that's the core things around OneDrive. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not seeing any, just checking. I don't want to miss anybody if anybody's got questions. No, not so far. Perfect. Okay, so one of the other things that I wanted to show you really quickly was in the app launcher, so up at the top corner, sometimes it's known as a waffle, are all of your apps. So these move around based on how much you use them. So some things will appear at the top and then you might come back and you've not used it for a while and it's disappeared. To access that list, click all apps, it lets you see that. And anytime you want to go to anything, simply select it. You also get this like little shortcut into recently used documents. So you can see there's the top 3 things I use and they're there. So again, it's giving you kind of trying to reduce your workload as much as it can. But if you've not used Whiteboard, I thought I would show you Whiteboard really quickly. So when you open up Whiteboard, you get these tiles again, and it lets you see any whiteboards that you have access to. So I'm just going to open this one for quickness. So in your setting, you likely have software attached, an interactive panel or display of some description. Whiteboard's a way to do that in Glow. You can use it with learners where it sits in your Glow account. You can ask them to collaborate with you. You can also share using the sort of share push button to get a link. So it's as simple as you get a link or you turn off the link. That's as straightforward as it is. So you could do this where you're all going on a walk and you're looking at, for example, if we just stick with autumn, you might be making a walking stick where you put the leaves on that you find as you go for a walk. And you could be tallying up the different types of leaves that you can see. So you can see here, so this has changed since this morning, but it isn't going to change again for a while. So, so it's good that we're doing this today. So first of all, the select buttons at the top, and then the pen tool that you're likely already familiar with is up there, and you get a range of pens, pencils, highlighters, and to change them, you just double tap it or right click and you can change the nib size, etc. So I can also click plus and I can do a range of different things. So I can put on a new post-it and I can choose the color of the post-it that I want. Once I've picked it, I can just place it on my board and I can write on it, or I can add some text onto it. So I'm going to put Holly. So I've got some text, I can neaten it up and I can place it. I can choose to add images to it. So I'm going to go to my pictures again. I have a holly leaf. Oops, that's tremendously big. I can shrink it right down and I can just place it on. So I'm going to move that and that. So now when we go out, I might have some people making, I'm just going to close that. I might have some people making their walking stick where they put all what they found on it. But alternatively, when we're back, we could either do this on the move if we have handheld devices, or we could take things off our stick and react to what we find. So young people could vote, our learners could vote. So if they find an oak leaf rather, they might want to put a thumbs up on the oak leaf. Or if they found a holly leaf, they could put a thumbs up there. If they found another oak leaf, and so on. So it's a really nice way to start introducing sort of data handling in maths. But it's also a really nice way for them to take what they're finding and using the physical resources and making it online. And it's mark making. You know, you might have learners who want to explore using pens but are struggle with physical pens, so they could use their finger on the tablets or on the interactive panels. Everything is shared within Glow. You can add in shapes, images, text, as I said, and there's a new templates feature, which is a big bit that rolled out. But again, that would be more for at early years level. This would be more for staff using, but there's lots of different ways if you are having sort of like a planning discussion and things like that. Up in the top corner is a cog, and you can format the background. So you can have different colours and things like that. So it's just a really nice way. I will show you this though, on post-it notes. You get these note grids, and that's a really nice way if you've got things like B-bots, or you've got young people pretending to be B-bots or codepillars or programmable whatever, mice, robots, etc. They can plan the route out and then using the post-its. So for example, if we pop this up here, I'm just going to zoom out, pull this down a bit. I'm going to add some new notes, so I want a grid of 9. So I might have 9 squares in my playground, or 9 squares, if it was people, 9 squares on my Bebop mat, for example. And then I might want to say, okay, where are we going to start, where are we going to end? And all I want them to do is with the pen, oops, it's not going to like me because I've not got a pen in my hand, I'm trying to do this with my finger, is get them to draw along. My device isn't even calibrated. So they can draw along where they're wanting it to go. Apologies, my device is not playing ball. Okay, so the notes is a really nice simple way to do it, and it's the same as having shapes, arrows on cards, but you can use it virtually and then you can interact with it and you've got a copy. All your whiteboards are automatically saved in your home, and you can save them as you change the name, save it as a PDF, or you can delete it. There's a desktop version too. Okay, so I'm going to go back into this document here. So one other thing I did want to show you this afternoon that I thought would be useful, and this is probably less about professional use but more for learning and teaching, is in realising the ambition. I do a lot of sessions around using CAD and 3D models and that kind of thing. And in realising the ambition, there's this really lovely statement about digital technologies being used virtually. So it supports us using all of the amazing physical work that's happening. So building blocks, junk modelling, all the things that you're already doing. And there's a way for our learners to do that online. But one of the other things that you can do is you can have 3D models available in your PowerPoint. So as I was saying, PowerPoint, we've all had death by PowerPoint at some point. I'm probably doing it to you now. But we can put in different shapes and different objects in a PowerPoint, and our young people can discuss them with us. Maybe they can build up their own interactive picture. and they can make a wee story to go with it, and they can move items around. So it's building up that understanding of something being in real life, something being on the computer, it's still having movement. It allows them to experience things virtually. So, you know, for a lot of people, probably one of them, if a wasp came at me, I would probably run away. So this can remove that kind of fear as well. And if you have young people who maybe sensory overload, or they don't like the texture changes, this is a way for them to still interact with some things. Okay, so how do we do that? I'm going to pop in a blank slide. So you need to use desktop PowerPoint. That's the first thing. It doesn't work on the online one. Go along to insert, and you're going to use 3D models. And here you can import your own ones if you have 3D models. And if you would like to know how to do that, please come to one of our sessions. But we've also got some stock ones that are built in that Microsoft have created in partnership with a couple other organisations. So you can see there's already existing categories, but we can add in anything we want. So if we select an animal, for example, so some are still and some are animated, so they don't all move. But if we choose this octopus, for example, stick with our seaside theme, and eventually it will load up. It places it on the screen, and you have an interactive model. So you can spin it around. So again, if I was doing things like Tiddler, the storybook Tiddler, or if I was doing the snail and the whale, I could be talking about different animals. We could put in models. We could say, okay, what might it look like underneath? If we were making a junk model, what would we look at? We obviously don't necessarily have octopus handy to look at. So we can look at the interactive model, and we can say, okay, what does it look like? There's a box along the top. So when you put 3D model on, you get this little menu. So you can change the position like this, and you are also able to animate it, so it like turns around. So if you haven't explored 3D models, I honestly can't tell you how much fun it is. And for learners, like I say, it opens up the world for them to be able to access things. So there's lots of different resources in there, from Roman huts to carts to all sorts of stuff. But there's volcanoes that erupt and lots of things. So it's a really nice way, though, like I say, to interact with and build up pictures. So for me, if I was doing this and I had P1 or was in nursery, I would get them to build up a visual picture, and then we could record our story to go along with it. So unlike the rest of the Glow products I've shown you, this is more one for learning and teaching that you might want to investigate. So desktop, insert, and then 3D models in PowerPoint. And then once you've got that, you can animate it to move. Okay, so how am I doing for time? Oh, I'm doing really well. It's not like me. So I'm just going to move this box. Okay, so the last few things that I thought that might be of use are some help and support. So as I've said, digital session, we've not talked a lot about the digital documentation because I'm sure that you're all aware of the prevalence of digital throughout Higeus and how good is our early learning childcare. And I've obviously given you an example there of how digital virtual experiences are referenced in Realising the Ambition in the Being Me document. One thing that you may not have seen, hopefully you will have, but if you have not, is our team, the DigiLearn Scott team, have a document called What Digital Learning Might Look Like. That booklet, oh, I'm not sure where the page is gone. There's a PDF of this with a QR code attached. that I'll share with Pam for everybody. But what digital learning might look like is early to second level, and it looks at experiences with the E's and O's that you may not have considered yet. So ways to use some products or some applications, apply skills, and develop knowledge, understanding and skills using the E's and O's in a range of ways that are creative and hopefully inspiring. So I would highly recommend that you take a look at that. So it's around digital literacy and computing science. So what Louise has been speaking about, and what my colleague George as well was speaking to some of you about, or is going to be speaking to some of you about. So please do check that document out. DigiLearn Scott is the website that we have. You'll see here that when you scan the QR code, or the image is hyperlinked as well, or you could Google it, there's a whole section in professional learning on early learning and childcare. There's also a section around cyber, and there's also cyber resilience and internet safety, and there's computing science resources, lots of things on there. This website as well, this link will take you directly to the 365 section, so the products that I've been speaking about today. So if you are thinking that looked great, or I want to know how to make a forum or something else, there's lots of resources and information in here, and they're broken down into bite-sized videos. Some of them are also included in thing links that are available on there. They're in the process of being updated. So if you come to one and you think, oh, there's some new features, be assured it's all being updated all the time. It's a constant process of us making sure that's as updated as we can make it for you. If you were interested in the accessibility tools, we've popped this little grid in here for you. And I mentioned Glow Connect, so that's the technical team who look after Glow. They have a site and it has some technical guides. So if you're looking for information around what a product does or is, then that's the place to go. If you're looking for the sort of pedagogy side of things, DigiLearn Scott is the place to go. But between the two things, there's virtually everything you might possibly ever need. And if you would like some additional professional learning using your Glow account, you can go to the Microsoft Educator Centre. There's courses online, there's videos and guides, and you can get some digital badges. There's no cost attached. If you are interested, you can have a look there. Oh, here's the link. I knew I had put it in here somewhere. So if you do want to have a look at the what digital learning might look like booklet, this QR code will take you to the Education Scotland page where it exists. But as I say, there's this hyperlink, and I will share it with Pam. That just leaves me to say thank you so much for coming along and listening to me speaking. If you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat. I'm really happy to answer. And I hope that you can see how you might use some of these tools. But yeah, and please do tag us in DigiLearn Scott or a hashtag DigiLearn Chats as well. We'd love to hear how you are using them in your setting. Thank you so much.
That was great. Thank you, Jamie. Brilliant stuff. I think we'll stop the recording, give everyone a chance to pop any questions in the chat.